so excited you're here for our webinar, Helping Families and Children with Special Needs During Divorce and Beyond. I am on the partnership for Apex Social Group, and something that's very, very important to our vision and mission is connecting with like-minded organizations that specialize in different things, and being able to not only share with our families, but share within the community. We understand how hard it is or navigating the complexities of having a child or an adult with special needs, and we hope to make it easier through community partnerships and relationships. One of those is Special Family Transitions, who I've had the pleasure of not only working with, but connecting with and collaborating, Mary Ann. So I am going to pass it over to her to start us off with the presentation and the webinar.
Thanks so much, Carlee. Pleasure to be here. Honored to participate and share with your families. And so Carlee and I discussed a topic and angle for us to discuss on this event. And so we decided that helping families and children with special needs during divorce and beyond was a good way to approach this, because this isn't just affecting us now, it's going to affect us in the future, because divorce may be final, but co-parenting and trying to figure out how to work with our ex-spouse, if that's the case we're in, or helping our children, that's an ongoing thing. So I'll definitely take that approach in what I do and how we'll share that today. But I've got lots of certifications here, which I'll talk about on the next slide, but I want to share a little bit about what I do and why I do it. Yeah, it's not working for me now. Can you scroll for me? Okay, excellent. So I'm the mom of two now young adults on the autism spectrum, and different abilities, different ends of the spectrum. And definitely wasn't my vision at the time during my marriage, but it did end after 21 years. And so I had to face that and figure out how I was going to get through that process, and how I was going to advocate for my kids. That became the focus for me in my divorce, was making sure that my children would be taken care of. They were becoming adults at that point, and I had to figure out long-term what that would mean for them and for me as well. And so after spending a lot of time, money, and energy trying to figure that out, I did get a good result for my family, but decided other families shouldn't have to go through this much trouble to try to figure out what to do for their family and also get a good result. So that's why I take my knowledge and my passion, and I created Special Family Transitions. And my goal is to help families navigate the overwhelm and complexities that are involved in divorce involving a child with some sort of disability. And now proud to be considered a leader in the field of special needs divorce. I am a certified special needs divorce coach. Some people have never heard of a divorce coach. I know I didn't when I started my process, but and I also inspired the creation of a special needs focus on that. So I'm proud to be inspiring that certification, as well as now being a instructor in that program for anybody who's interested in doing that in the future. But definitely it's a big need, and I'm there as my passion. I don't work with other divorce cases. I work with strictly with special needs related ones. But that's what I know, and that's what I do, and that's what I love doing. But I've also taken trainings as a mediator and pre-mediation. And also this week I'm starting a co-parenting specialist course. So that's something important to me as well. But all this to say that I come at this from a broad perspective, not just one, sometimes supporting one parent, but could be supporting both. So depending on your situation, happy to work with your family regarding that. Usually as a coach, I work with one parent, but as a different role, I could probably work with both. So happy to support you all, no matter what situation you all are in. But I also work a lot with other professionals, learn from them, share information with them. I'm co-director of the National Association of Divorce Professionals, or Special Needs chapter, and we have a lot of presenters, and that we all learn from each other and share a lot of information on podcasts and interviews and webinars like this. I also write articles for magazines. I like to attend events, resource fairs, different opportunities that I have to share information, and also have been a co-author in several books. I'm excited that I have got another one that'll be coming out in January. So these are the points that Carlee kindly put together. And so the point of today's presentation is to kind of guide us through the emotional legal aspects. I'm not a lawyer, so I don't give legal advice, but kind of what you need to think about and ask your lawyer, and different practical strategies during and after the separation, how to support our children in different ways, how to think about co-parenting plans, and different resources that could help you in this process as well. So a lot of what I do, especially the initial stages, is to help guide people through the overwhelm of divorce. It can be kind of take over our lives when we're not expecting it, or even if we are the ones initiating. A lot of times women are the ones initiating divorce. But when they have a child with special needs, there's so many more complications and things we have to think about as part of that process. But when we go through a change like divorce or even a diagnosis for a child, we go through the grief cycle. And so there's denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and finally acceptance. And the reason I share this, and sometimes it's not linear, so we can go through maybe different order sometimes or repeat these phases depending where we're at. But it's really when we get to the point, I just want to say that all these phases are normal, so it's okay for feeling these emotions. But it's when we get to the point of acceptance that we can make good decisions and make decisions that we need to make to get a good result for the future. And so that's my goal, is to help people go from the emotional divorce to the business side of divorce. I've got, in case you saw my first slide, I've got an MBA. And so what that means is I kind of see this through the lens also in terms of business transaction and making business decisions, what's going to be best for us and for our family, because this is probably the biggest financial transaction of our lives. And so we want to make sure that we're making all the good decisions by taking all the factors that go into account for that. But it's not just for us, it's for our kids and their future too. And a lot of times as parents of a child with special needs, we don't take care of ourselves. We don't think about ourselves and what we need and how to take care of ourselves to take care of our kids. And so we have to remember that we're important, and that to make good decisions, we have to be in a good place mentally and other ways as well. And so self-care is something that normally sometimes we don't think about doing, but it's really important, especially during divorce and stressful times, to be in a good state to make those difficult type of discussions and decisions. But definitely have a network of people you can rely on for support, to help you, and to help take care of the kids. If you don't already have connected with Apex and have someone helping you, it definitely takes a village to get through this a lot of times. So if you've got family and friends who are supportive, that's great. Sometimes we got to be careful about experiences our friends might share about what they've been through for divorce. We don't want to approach it in a negative way, or maybe they had a bad experience. We want to take what maybe they have to share and kind of see how we can use that in our situation. There's support groups, whether they're online or in person, that can help people through this. And there's definitely mental health professionals for both ourselves and for our children can be helpful. A divorce coach like myself to kind of put these pieces together for you and help make sure that you're on the right track and do what you need to do to say organize and get and kind of figure out what we need to be doing. And just know that you're not alone. So definitely seek out resources, and I'll share at the end ways to find additional resources to support you as well. And so for sure, we need to find experts to help us, especially a family law attorney experienced with special needs, because a lot of times, even though divorce with a child with a disability is the percentages are pretty high. I've seen numbers as high as 80, 87%. Some lawyers still don't have experience in really dealing with that, or if they've had a few, your situation may be different. So you want to work with a lawyer who is willing and understands the complexities involved in your case and what you need out of that process. And so in divorce, there's different aspects of that. One of them is the division of your marital estate, basically your division of property, kind of what you get, 50-50 or whatever it might be. But then the other side that's really important, especially with special needs, is the child aspects in terms of child support and ongoing care and resources that will then go to that child. And we want to be careful how we set that up. That's why I want to work with a lawyer who understands this, because we want to make sure that our child's benefits are preserved either now, if you're getting some waivers or wherever you are uh, in the country. There are different countries as well, maybe handle things differently, but there's ways to set things up legally so that those benefits and things that they're getting monies then are not going to be inadvertently discontinued because of the way the divorce and supports are set up. So then you'll want to work with a special needs planning attorney and estate planning attorney who does those kind of trusts. There's a couple of different kinds of trusts. There's a third-party trust. I think we're more familiar with a special needs trust, which is where money would go if something happens to you, or like life insurance or inheritance, things like that. But there's also first-party trusts that are important, especially if the child is over 18, where child support would go into. So once again, to maintain the child's benefits. And so all these things need to be noted in the decree. And if you don't have a diagnosis at the time of divorce, you can always go back and modify these things. And then the financial aspects are really important as well, in terms of where we are now for our child and what we need for the future. So a lot of times in divorce, maybe we're not thinking about the future. But to me, the reason my divorce took a long time, and things that I encourage families to do, is to really look at the future needs as well and how we'll continue to support that. So depending, if you're in the US, different states handle things differently. So there's some states, like where I am in Texas, where you can have lifelong, what they call indefinite child support. Some states like New York, it ends at age 26 for a child with a disability. I should say the Texas one is for a disability. And different states handle things differently. But no matter where you are, you can always come to an agreement as to how you and your soon-to-be ex-spouse are going to handle ongoing support of that child. And definitely as a coach to kind of help with that whole process, because this can be overwhelming. And so not knowing things that we might need to do or how to go about them or best practices, definitely happy to share that with people as well. And so we talked about the current needs and long-term, not just financial, but in terms of who's going to take care of the child, how that's going to look, and so on. That kind of goes into then the parenting plan and the possession schedule. Are the people going, are families going to, some people do the primary of the week with one, maybe the main caregiving parent, and maybe have weekends or alternating weekends with the other parent. Sometimes it's extended, sometimes it may look different, and we want to do what's best for that family and best for that child. Sometimes there's other opportunities out there for maybe a split or a week on, week off. Sometimes people alternate days during the week, but we want to really, where it makes sense, lot of kids don't do well with transitions, a lot of transitions, especially children on the autism spectrum, to have a lot of go back and forth is really can be difficult. So we want to be mindful of that as we're coming to an agreement. And part of that is decision-making authority. So you may have, both be involved as parents, but at the end of the day, if there's medical decision-making, educational, psychological, those type of decisions, maybe one parent has the final decision-making authority while after consulting with the other parent. Because if you have a disagreement and you're strictly 50-50 decision-making, then what if you don't agree? Sometimes people have a tiebreaker, whether that's a medical professional or somebody else, but then that gets kind of complicated. So kind of think about, what's going to be best for your family without it being an ego-driven decision, but really what's best for that child and how that might work. We talked about the child's needs before and after 18, because we don't know what that child's needs are going to be in the future, especially someone who maybe is higher functioning, or we don't know what that disability means for them in terms of being able to get a job or employment or self-care. They may appear independent in a lot of ways, but in a lot of ways they may still need ongoing support as an adult. So we have to be mindful of that. And definitely want to put the child first in terms of transitions and how to handle that. And I'll talk more about that in upcoming slides. And so we talked about thinking about this as a business transaction. So kind of look at the big picture. And when you're making decisions, rather than being driven from an emotional standpoint, really think about this, how is this going to work? what resources do I need in terms of the house? Does it make sense to stay in the house? How's that going to work? Do I have enough liquid funds? Might I have to get a job? All these kind of things go into divorce decisions and how we handle things. But we also want to look at how we want, what kind of vision and goals we want in our divorce. What do we want our life to look like after divorce? What kind of co-parenting relationship do we want with the soon-to-be ex-spouse? I've seen cases where there's a lot of conflict because of their personalities or people taking a stance and not willing to negotiate, that there's ongoing conflicts even after divorce and years after, and they're in constant litigation. Is that really the type of situation that you would want for your family? So as you're choosing an attorney and making decisions as part of that process, kind of think about what impact is that going to have in the long run as well. And whether it's through to our ex-spouse or our legal team or whoever it might be in this process, we want to come across as someone who's done our homework and come across in a confident, professional manner. There's a framework called BIFF, B-I-F-F, where how we communicate is brief, informative, friendly, and firm. So rather than sending long emails or texts to our soon-to-be ex-spouse, or if they're sending us those kind of things to us, we want to respond in a professional manner to try to diffuse the situation and make sure that we're really focusing on the issue at hand, which hopefully is taking care of the kids. And divorce can be overwhelming, like any large project. And so we want to break that down to manageable steps and goals and timelines, like a project plan. And so in terms of supporting our children, both emotionally and other ways, how do we do that? Well, we want to think about the impact to our kids when making decisions. Are these decisions going to affect them in terms of their emotional stability, in terms of financial stability as well? And we don't want to, if we know divorce is coming, we want to, as much as we can, try to prepare ourselves and our children. They may or may not understand, depending on their level of development, but we want to do things in a way that's respectful to everybody as much as we can and ease them into transition. So for example, if you know that divorce is coming, then maybe get the other parent more involved in the day-to-day type of things that maybe one parent did. And maybe if the other parent has a new place that the child will be spending some weekends or weeks or more time, then maybe don't do that all at one time. Maybe they can go visit the place for a few hours and then a day and then maybe one overnight and maybe then a whole weekend and build upon that. We don't want to argue in front of the kids and put them in the middle of conflict. So these are adult conversations and adult things, and we definitely don't want the child feeling that they have to take sides because they're close to both parents. And so something that my son said to me the other day is just because the parents don't like each other doesn't mean that the child doesn't like both the parents. So we have to keep that in mind and not create any ways to kind of put that child in the middle or have them feel like they're not loved or that they can't show love to both parents. And sometimes one parent maybe doesn't see the disability in the same way as another parent. So we have to hopefully be on the same page so that we can make good decisions and discuss how to take care of that child during and after divorce. And a lot of it has to do with the financial resources, but sometimes it could be with their interventions and taking them to appointments and what that child needs to succeed in school and in life. So hopefully we can either try to come to that agreement on our own as parents or bring in professionals to share information to help us get to that point. Okay. And then there's several different things to do to help ease transitions for the child and ways to co-parent. So if y'all are not familiar with the term co-parents, basically how to parent the child when you're in separate homes. And there's hopefully cooperative co-parenting going on, which is both parents are kind of on the same page. I mean, granted, you're getting divorced, so you may not agree on everything, but we want to try to work together to come to agreements as how both households are going to handle things. But sometimes, for whatever reason, the other parent is not going to agree, wants to do things their own way, does not get communication. In that case, you can have something called parallel parenting, where each parent's going to parent differently in their homes, but we want to try to create as much consistency or hopefully some ways that that can make it better for the children and hopefully for the communication between parents. So, for instance, some children may have emotional sensitivity in terms of their complex needs. And so there's additional anxiety, distress during transitions. And so there's ways, as we talked about, to kind of smooth that out and make it not as drastic. But definitely, if you need to engage with a child psychologist that has experience working with that population, sometimes those are hard to find. But definitely that can help in case the parents are not able to handle that on their own. And if the child is verbal, hopefully have someone to talk to. What I found in my situation was that one of my children really couldn't have those type of conversations because of his limited verbal and other skills. And so that became something where I had to then take it up on myself to try to help him. And I'll talk about what I did there in a minute. Sometimes going between homes causes separation anxiety. That happens with a lot of kids anyway. But let's find ways, hopefully, to make it a little bit less stressful. Maybe having a comfort item that goes between homes, or having that item in each home might be helpful. And sometimes because of the communication difficulties, it can be hard to express feelings and understand kind of what's happening next. And so having a visual schedule to talk about each day's activities and when the transitions are happening. And so visually you can see these are the number of, actually one psychologist I talked to, did a presentation with, talked about the number of sleeps at one house, then coming back to then the other house for those number of sleeps. So there's different ways to approach it depending on what level your child may be. And definitely routines are very important for a lot of our kids. And so we want to maintain as much consistency as possible. We don't want, hopefully, one parent having something totally different with different bedtimes and eating and hygiene kind of routines. So as much, hopefully, we can get both parents on board to agree that this is what the child needs. And granted, it may be done a little bit differently in each home, and that's okay, and that's to be expected, but as much consistency as possible so that the child knows what's coming next. Sensory processing can be difficult for a lot of kids, so sometimes having a sensory friendly type of space can be helpful. Soft lighting, things like that. My son loves headphones, so he takes that whenever he may be in a situation that causes some anxiety. And sometimes social skills and relating to people might be hard based on what they're going through. So definitely get the school involved, let them know what's happening so they can support that child and have not to guess why that child may not be acting themselves. Let them have that communication with the school and other people they're working with, therapists in the community. But sometimes there's social activities, therapy groups. Sometimes the school can provide extra support, TLC, for that child as well. And so it's kind of to be not expected, but it's possible we may see some behavioral changes. I know that was the case with one of my children, especially at the beginning, because they don't know how to respond and everything's different in their world. And so we want to recognize that may happen, but also we need to be mindful of how we handle that and hopefully have some good strategies so that they're coming back to a baseline and know what's acceptable, what's not, and how to manage that. The understanding of divorce, that this is something permanent, and what that means for the child in terms of how that affects them and their daily routine is going to be hard sometimes. And so what I did for my family is created what they call a social story. And people who have a child with autism may know what that is and some behavior experts. But basically, it's an easy way to understand visually using some words as well, depending on the level of the child, as to what's happening and what they can expect. So for instance, and you can find it on my YouTube channel, I have a video I created about how I create a social story, and I'm happy to help people in that process as well. But what they could expect. It was called "What's Happening to My Family," and so they read it over and over again and hopefully you can get pictures of the new place that they'll be going to, whether it's your new home for yourself or for the other parents, so they can kind of know what to expect, as much as you can provide in terms of what days and so on. And if you don't have not that point yet, but just say things like, this is our new family. We still love you, but we're going to be in different homes, and just do it kind of as a children's type of story at that level. In terms of their medical needs, we want to make sure that they continue on with their normal routine and getting the care that they need. We want to coordinate appointments. If both parents are not on board with taking them, then maybe we just schedule them on our time. But we want to share information with the other parent, especially if they haven't been involved, get them up to speed so they have the information in case of emergencies or just day-to-day type needs to take care of that child, especially if they have medical or complex needs in that way. And definitely, we talked about we want to limit exposure to conflict for the kids. But one way to do that is through co-parenting apps, which is a great way to share information. You can also share financial things that are being shared and how to split that. And so that takes away sometimes the in-person conflict, as well as any kind of notes that may not be appropriate. Because sometimes some of the apps have tone meters, like Our Family Wizard, things like that, to kind of alert people if there's some inflammatory language, things like that. Sometimes you can use a mediator. Doesn't have to be a true full mediation, but just in terms of helping you come to an agreement on little things rather than having it blow up and be something that you have to then take legal action and hire lawyers again for, especially after divorce. And so, kind of to summarize, we want to focus on the child's needs and their well-being, and hopefully trust in the parent to do the right thing. It may not be the way that we're parent, but hopefully they have the best interest in mind when they're taking care of their children. It may look different than how we would handle things, but we want to hopefully set both parents up with the right information and right supports to be able to take care of that child during their time. And so with that, maybe if they haven't been as involved, provide resources or information or links to help that other parent. I had a family I worked with where she sent to the dad who hadn't been as involved some things for him to order to have at the house. And also when they were to travel, he was going to travel with some other people and he didn't know what to order, what supplies and things like that. And so even though he did thank her on the spot, he did use those links to order what was needed. So sometimes we want to present it in as professional manner as we can, and not tell people what to do or how to do it, but say, here's what's helpful, and then hopefully you can use it if appropriate, when appropriate. And so, yeah, definitely have an agreed to method of communication, which is, sorry, it's blocked by the picture there, but whether it's through co-parenting apps or weekly emails, things like that, as much as you can, do it in writing as opposed to just verbal communication. That way you can go back and refer to what you had agreed upon is a good idea. And wanted to share about some upcoming resources and events coming up. So I've got, we'll sit down to the bottom for a minute. At the beginning, I talked about it was hard to find resources when I went through. And so an effort that a colleague of mine who's also a special needs divorce coach we put together is a website called Divorce with Special Needs Children. And there we have people who are experts in their field, whether it's legal, financial, mental health, whatever it may be, to help you get through this process either before, during, or after divorce. And so what we're going to do is in January, and when you're watching this, it'll be January 2026, but there'll be a summit free for families to watch, where then we'll have these people kind of share their expertise. So we're excited about that. But things that I've shared and I'll put this on there as well, a link to our conversation here, is I have on my Special Family Transitions YouTube channel a playlist of different events that I've done and podcasts and videos. And there's lots of great information there about different aspects that maybe we didn't talk about or more in detail. And also that social story video is there as well. And there's a book that I mentioned that's coming out in January, which is going to be on, there's an author who has a divorce book for children, and we're tailoring that for special needs communities. So I think that's going to be something that you can use as a tool as well. I wrote a chapter in a book called The Other Side of Divorce, Breakups That Lead to Breakthroughs. And my framework is called RISE. And so kind of takes you through what that is and how to incorporate that in your divorce. And I have a little mini course I created there, and that's the link there, and I'm happy to share more information that. But I do help people with one-on-one coaching, do presentations, whatever it might be, helping one parent, helping both. So depending on what your situation is, happy to help find the best way to provide tailored support in your situation. So I talked kind of fast today, and there's a lot we can have a discussion, Carlee, if you'd like, depending on how much time we have. But yeah, I'm always here to support you all. And so know that you're not alone. There are people who are here to help support you, who have been through it and can guide you along the way and provide some positive ways to get through this process. And so all my social media is under Special Family Transitions. So please feel free to reach out and let me know how I can help.
Thank you, Mary Ann. That was the first time I've seen a presentation of yours, and I wrote down some really helpful tips to help families that just even call in or ask questions and need that support. So thank you so much for sharing. I am going to get into a resource for families that you might not even know exist or is an option, or you've never even thought about for your family. It's a very unique thing, but it has been a serious game changer. And we've seen an increase in families that are separated, going through a divorce, needing something like this in their home. So I'm going to talk a lot about Apex Social Group and what we do. We are live-in developmental childcare, and we empower families through consistent, high-quality care. As an educator, past educator, director in the special needs space, I know how challenging it can be to find quality care for your child. So we have been a great solution for a lot of those families. So the Apex difference, we have been around since 2008. We are trusted as, that organization that unlocks children's greatest potential through integrating skilled care professionals and cultural exchange experience into their daily life. We work closely with each family through a highly personalized and innovative placement process. I always say having a caregiver, a nanny, a care professional, a therapist, a coach, it's a relationship. And so it's much more of just, oh my gosh, she's great, he's great, their experience sounds awesome. You also need to make sure they mesh well for what you're looking for in your family and your child's needs and your personality and all the things. So it's truly a matchmaking process. And so that is really important to us, that we're finding the right fit for not only your child, but your family. And so we do that by understanding each child and family's unique needs to find just the right support to help them thrive. I feel like I can talk all day about what we do at Apex and how it has been a game changer for families, but there's no kind of experience like one that comes from a family's perspective. So I am going to share a video, little testimonial from one of our families.
My name is Amanda Sharp. I'm a board certified behavior analyst and in business development. He was born regular, no complications. And then around like 19 to 20 months, we started recognizing global delays. And so after that, we had him tested in California. He was diagnosed with full autism spectrum disorder. And it was scary. It was really scary.
So before we had any CPs in here, any help, it was just us. So there was me and my wife and our daughter, a 15-year-old daughter, trying to take care of a growing boy who requires 24/7 care.
Before I had a CP in my home, I was my son's caregiver and keeper and mother and manager all at the same time. I didn't really have a lot of freedoms to be a wife, have more professional time or experience working, and to be a mother to my daughter.
It's been really nice having the CPs here. It's a lot easier, I want to say, for me to be like take a second, breathe. So having the CPs here has been more of a like, oh, I can step back and like I can watch him grow as a person instead of just my little brother.
Mandy was able to find our care professionals through Apex, and they showed up, and things changed a lot. We're able to have freedoms that we previously just couldn't have.
Quality of life has increased in several different avenues. That starts from the small little things of being able to take a bath all the way up to I haven't been anywhere with my husband alone in 2.5 years.
So as care professionals with Hayden, we help him in his everyday life. For example, getting ready in the morning. We make sure that he eats his breakfast before he goes to therapy. For his lunch break, we make his food for him and we just spend time with him so that he can relax. And on the weekend, it's a little bit different, the routine, because he has no therapy. So we go outside with him a lot and play games, watch movies together. He has some schoolwork that we do with him. It's called Equipping Minds. And it's just a tool that we use for him to develop more like his school level. For example, he has some cubes and he puts the colored cubes on the colored arrows. It's good that we can use tools so that we have more of a connection with him too.
We make some schoolwork with him, and then it's lunchtime. After lunchtime, so he likes very much jumping on trampoline and swinging. So we're going to the goats, to the brown bench in the front.
I'm really part of the family, and we eat together every evening and we do things together. So I'm really thankful for that.
Anybody that uses Apex will not only get the help that they need, but they'll also kind of get the relief that knowing that, somebody's there that actually cares and there's consistency and they will stick with you through the hardest times because they've already proven it.
Having care professionals from Apex are not just for your child. It's for your family, and that's that sense of well-being really is that's what you gain from.
Hayden, are you happy? Are you happy with Micah and Celine? Okay, yes or no? Okay, we'll see you soon.
I love watching that. I think it really shows how these care professionals become an extension of your family. And I know this was in a perspective of obviously two parents that are still together, but it shows, not only when parents are together and are a team, there's still so much help. And then these parents that are divorcing and then they realize a lot more gets added to their plate and it's almost unmanageable. And then there's a lot of talks of, well, X, Y, and Z hired a nanny that I don't think is the best fit. And, there needs to be consistency. This child, Marianne said there's so many changes going on and new faces and new things and new emotions. And we've just seen having families that divorce with a child with special needs, having a care professional that can actually travel with the child in between the family's home is, it's not the solution, I wouldn't say, but it's a warm face, a warm body. Mom and dad, have this breather of like, okay, we're on the same page, same person's going in between, we're working on the same thing. So even during a really hard transition, there is a little bit of that consistency and peace with having a care professional living in and traveling between the two families' homes. So what makes this different? A lot of things, if you haven't noticed, but all of our care professionals have experience in healthcare, therapy, or education. They have to have a minimum of 400 hours of childcare experience. We do background checks. We check 3 references. They take our departure academy. So a lot of our care professionals are actually recruited from Germany. So we go through, cultural differences, what's best practices for living in home, talking through like behavioral issues and what that can look like in the home, or, if there are we have a lot of families that are going through a divorce, what that can look like for a child, what's best practices, just in all different kinds of cases. So we're not only just finding those ones that are really qualified and dedicated, but we're also a very experienced inside team that's going to help guide them through that process. So we have a wide range of not only backgrounds and experiences, but personalities too, because that is also a match. We have families that love to travel, are very, very outgoing, and we have families that are homebodies. And so finding, care professionals that like and do both is just as important. So yeah, that's definitely what sets us apart, as being someone in the education field and being a director trying to hire teachers. I was always looking for those people that are really motivated and wanting to stay in this field. And I think we have, the opposite issue. We have too many that want to come over here and have this experience. So it's truly a wonderful, wonderful thing to see. We also help families and care professionals be involved by writing an APEX individualized care plan. So this is going to play a crucial role that everyone is on the same team together. So like I said, whether mom and dad are together or they're separated, it's not just, hey, we're going to put this person in your house and, we hope it all goes well. But hey, what are some things you're working on? What are some challenges you see in your child? What are some developmental milestones you would like to see reach? And our team all comes from a background of special education. So also setting realistic goals, right? So if a child is nonverbal in 2 months, you want them speaking full sentences, that's just not realistic. And, we don't want to set these expectations on our care professional or on your child. We want, reachable, attainable goals that are developmentally appropriate. So we're going to sit down, the care professional is going to have buy-in. They're going to say, oh, I would really love to work on this. This would be awesome to try. I want to put this in there. So everyone's very much involved and very much on the same pace or same page, same pace moving forward. That's a really, really important piece of all of this. So backed by statistics, I am huge with whatever you say, you must walk the walk and talk the talk. We can say all these wonderful things, but you need statistics to really back up what you're doing. So meeting critical developmental needs. So early childhood is a sensitive period for brain development. The right support at the right time can shape lifelong outcomes. I talk about this all the time. My first job was being a daycare teacher, and a lot of my teachers would say, oh my gosh, they're only 2. They don't understand. I'm like, no, they understand everything, and they're picking up everything around them. So ensuring that, we're having age appropriate conversations, we're interacting them with children in age appropriate ways. So the AICP provides personalized care, ensuring each child's unique strengths and challenges are addressed effectively and, like I said, developmentally appropriately. There's going to be tailored strategies, support growth across communication, motor, cognitive, and social emotional domains. So we're going to make sure we're hitting every single one of those. I know one might be a little bit more behind than the other, but it's important to keep each one of those in day-to-day practices and day-to-day interactions. Collaborative care equals stronger outcomes. The care professional becomes a core member of your child's care team. So although they come from these backgrounds in healthcare, education, therapy, they might be a speech therapist, they might be an OT, a PT. They're not going to replace your child's therapies. Instead, they're going to observe everything that's going on, because a lot of these kids have, OT, PT, speech, a child psychologist, a play therapist, and with mom and dad, especially if they're separated, communication can get lost. It's part of life. I mean, it's just part of everything. And so that care professional is not only going to be that core person that's like, okay, tell me what I can do. How can I implement this when you're not here? What does this look like when, if an OT is like, hey, when you're tying their shoes in the morning, why don't you let them try first and then you model it? So just incorporating all those therapy practices into their day-to-day lives and making sure that we're implementing all those things. Regular coaching and monthly updates. So like I said, we're gonna make sure that we're on track and that our care professional feels supported, the families feel like their child is thriving, they're noticing them reaching milestones, they see a lot of positive outcomes. We're really big, probably too big, on communication and what's going on and what we can do to be better. Improved communication and alignment among caregivers leads to more consistent support across environments. So we've seen this with all of our kiddos. Supporting milestone achievement. With the focused goals and track progress, children are more likely to meet developmental milestones. The AICP helps families and professionals recognize early signs of progress or challenges, allowing for timely intervention. So we all know the earlier you get in there, the more of an impact you make. That doesn't mean you notice everything and you get the support right in the moment. We're all human. Things are missed, but having a care professional, you might not have noticed that there are gross motor skills that your child wasn't developmentally reaching, and let's get an OT. Let's get these things going. So we see all these things being a huge component of what a care professional can bring into a family. So what does the Apex dedicated teams look like? We all kind of have our specialty in what we do, and there's support in every single step of the process you take throughout Apex. It's not you call and we're like, oh, you need a care professional here, he or she is, good luck. But we're a team that all kind of have our niche in what we do with Apex, and you're going to have a support in each one of these. So our family advising and matching teams. So when you pick up the phone and give us a call, we're going to say, okay, just tell me about your family, what's going on. We're going to take all the notes. We're going to explain to you what live-in care looks like. How could this be beneficial to your family? What kinds of things would you like to see? Do you need help driving to and from therapy? Do you need more support during the weekends? So we're really going to get a big picture of your family and what you're looking for in a live-in care professional. And even if we've had families call and they're like, I don't even know what live-in even looks like. So we'll really talk to you about what that can look like, especially for a family that is separating, is divorced. What does live-in care? How would this work? What would that look like? We really walk through families step by step of what having a live-in care professional is. So next step would be if you're like, yes, I need this. This sounds great. You're going to have a matching specialist. So like I said, having someone live in your home, that is a huge relationship commitment. Not only for your family, but also for the care professional. So we want to make sure it is the most perfect match. We're going to have your family take a personality test. We make our care professionals take a personality test. And it's really neat because you get to see underlying motivation. Do they thrive in structure? Do they thrive in fun? Do they thrive in relationships? And so that's a huge piece of how we match. It's not only just education and experience, but what kind of personality are you looking for? What are the dynamics of your household? What are the things you like to do? And so, like I said, we typically have a very huge pool of candidates. We don't expect a busy family that needs this kind of support to filter through 80 candidates. We will say, hey, we think these 10, just based on our conversation, would be a good fit. You get to do all the interviewing. We just really help guide you through that. So once you send out your job offer, your care professional accepts it, we do all the back end work of getting him or her there, getting settled in, and then you're actually going to have someone that is local, and her full-time job is to be both of your support systems. So she's going to check in monthly. She's also going to integrate the care professional within the community. So giving her a support system that's outside you, because it's a huge commitment to have your employer also be your place of where you live. So how can we make this an enjoyable experience for both parties, and that also our care professional feels like they have outside outlets and support systems to get out of the house sometimes and get that respite that they need as well too during this transition. And then you're going to have access to the educational and therapeutic resources team, which is where I come in. So as much as I would love to say Apex is a specialist in everything and we can do everything all the time, we are not. We very much specialize in live-in care for families and giving them that quality, consistency, and watching their child thrive during that time. But, you know, having partnerships and resources within these communities we're located in, for example, Marianne, like helping a family really during that hard transition period, is why we have relationships and close ones. It's not just, oh, I've heard of this organization. It's, we know them. Let me connect you. Let's figure out how Apex can work with Marianne to make sure this is the smoothest transition for your child and your family. So we will do some connecting and whatever help you might need with any resources and support during your time and placement with us. I love sharing just another quote from a family. The care professionals that Apex Social Group finds are of the highest caliber. We get the feeling that if the care professional is not good enough for Susan's family, which is our founder, who also has had a ton of care professionals throughout her 3 children's lives, then they are not good enough for any of her host families either. We love how her team helps handpick which of the candidates would match best with the host family. So there's a QR code if you want to schedule a consultation. Like I say, I've had someone call and say, I just have one question. Okay, hit me with it. And then they're like, okay, I'll follow up later. Or I've had someone call and said, do you have an hour? I have so many. And I'm like, absolutely. We are more than happy. That is exactly why we do what we do, is to help families really navigate, you know, is live-in care a good fit? Maybe a live out nanny is the better fit. But what I've seen across the board is just that consistency, especially with families that might be going through a divorce, and just having that extra support and extra hands on deck has been a really big game changer. So please reach out if you've ever thought about it, if you're thinking about it in the future, all of the above. We'd love to have a conversation with you. But yeah, I also wanted to wrap it up and say thank you guys for joining Marianne and I. Being a collaborative space and organization is extremely important to me. And so I hope you got some answers, some tips, some resources, 2 people that are here to support you. Please reach out. We'll also send out an email after this. This recording will be on YouTube. You can watch it 500 times. You can watch it once a month. You can share it with your friends, all of the above. So I really hope you took away some great information, and we'll also have our contact information out there. So please reach out if there's anything either of us that can do to help and support your family. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much. I want to say what a wonderful opportunity. I appreciate that, but I also want to share how important this really is, this service, this opportunity, because when you were married, you kind of relied on people maybe to tag team, to take turns. And when you're, even if you have a possession schedule, if during your time, it can be stressful. So to have an extra set of hands there, I think is wonderful. And plus the fact that your providers can go between homes, I think is excellent, because sometimes people have a hard time finding a consistent person who is comfortable being in both homes and knows that child. So I think that's perfect.
Awesome. Thank you, Marianne. Well, thank you guys again. Thanks for your kind words, and thanks for joining us. We're so happy you signed up, hopped on, or watching in, sharing the recording. So thank you guys so much, and we will talk soon.